On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we have winning to talk about, believe it or not. Not in basketball. Again, we'll get to that. But we're going to start with the Super Bowl because Nick Bolton's a champ. We're recording this on a Sunday night after the Super Bowl. So we're going to recap that. We'll dive into it just to praise Nick Bolton and Blaine, of course. And then we've got some more football news to go over too. Mizzou hiring a new defensive analyst. We're going to talk some Kirby Moore stuff too because of the speculation with him and being linked to the Alabama job. So we'll give our take on that. Then we'll recap the Mississippi State game. Again, just kind of talk about the future because there's not much to talk about with the present. Then we'll do quick hits. We got Ken Sports Shorts, Sports Shorts, Dirty Birds, and the fraud rankings, and then the ratio to finish things up. So great show. Glad we get to talk about Nick Bolton being a winner again. So we'll dive into that. But first and foremost, a quick word from the sponsor, Bet Online. Super Bowl's over. The Chiefs are winning, so we hope you used Bet Online for all your odds there. But they still have everything: football, basketball, racing if you want, soccer. They got all the sports, all the odds, stats, and trends and lines, everything you need. BetOnline is your number one source for all your championship wagering, all your game wagering. So head to BetOnline today to get in on the action. We used it for the Super Bowl lines. We're going to recap our bets that we made for Friday's show when we talk about Bolton and Gabbert and the Chiefs winning. So if you need any lines, go get them at BetOnline. The game starts there. Let's do our best beats by BetOnline. I'm starting the best beats of the week. This week, I'm going to the NBA All-Star Weekend. We have those festivities coming up in Indiana. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to bet on the 3-point contest. I got my guy. What time is it, Kenny and Peyton? What time is it? It's Dame time.
Fraud rankings aren't right now.
It's Dame time. I'm taking Dame plus 525 to win the 3-point contest. I don't really know if he'll win it. You know, all depends on how hard they try. But I'm going to be a homer. Give me Dame to win the 3-point contest.
It's about resume building at this point in the college basketball season, and I still believe in these Tigers. This resume means a lot. Kansas failed me last week. Kansas is not going to fail me this week. Going down to Lubbock, Texas to take on the Red Raiders, Kansas +2.
Raiders.
It's Mid-Major Monday, unless you're Jack and Kenny. But I'm going to stick with the mid-majors. And really, this is low major basketball. The Elon Phoenix, who, if you didn't know, have a basketball team that Torrance Watson once played for. They are going on the road to Maryland to play the Towson Tigers, who notably once went 1-26 in a season. So the Towson Tigers, this is some Colonial Athletic action. This is not the same Tigers that went 1-26 like 12 years ago, though. They're 12-point favorites in this one, and you know what? I'm riding with it. Torrance Watson, no longer a Phoenix. I have been to numerous Elon Phoenix football games. Very lovely. They have a tradition where you get a piece of cardboard and slide down the hill into the concrete brick barrier. It was a lot of fun. I probably have a lot of undiagnosed brain damage from doing it so often. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Tigers here because one of the Tigers in the nation have to win.
But what's the Torvik line? That's your normal mid-major Monday. Did Torvik influence this one?
I did something unique.
Oh.
No, of course I used Torvik. Torvik has this one as a 13-point line. So get this one while you can, folks, because it's not going to be 12 for long. When all of the action starts pouring in on Towson Elon, you can say that I was there first. I don't post predictions, folks. I post spoilers.
Peyton, you figured out that you never saw Shane Gillis play football at Elon, correct?
Correct. I did not, unfortunately. When you told me that one time, I genuinely was like, oh my God, I definitely saw him. But the time
that probably would have caused even more brain damage to you if you saw him play football.
I probably would have. But
I would have gone with Mid-Major Monday with you, Peyton, but I felt the All-Star game was just a unique thing this week. But I'll be back to Mid-Major Monday it's on the actual game. I think is Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, it's always Sunday.
It's always Sunday. Thanks, Kenny. Sunday, but I figured I had to bet on some festivities. But with that, after my fake cutaway, here's the real cutaway. Let's get into the show. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, February 12th, and Nick Bolton is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion. The Kansas City Chiefs, you can see it by Kenny's hat if you're going on the YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. He's got the champion's hat, not the current one. He didn't order that already. Although I liked the current merch. They showed it. They did their classic. The Chiefs have just won the Super Bowl. They run by the merch now. I thought the hat and the shirt were pretty cool. The little Vegas logo around the Chiefs. That aside, Nick Bolton and Blaine Gabbert have won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. True sons, champions. Nick Bolton almost had a pick. That would have been electric. He obviously had the scoop and score. I was hoping he was going to be able to top that. But yeah, fellas. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs champions. I'm sure most of the viewers of our show are pretty happy about that. Of course, Nick Bolton and Blaine with the Mizzou tie. But what a game! Overtime with the new overtime rules. It was a good game. It's a good game.
Yeah, very good game, especially once Usher showed up. It just seemed to ignite everybody. Great halftime show, then a great second half, really. It was compelling, man. I was actually I had to work during it, but I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, so I was still able to watch it. And I was invested in it. I love the new overtime rules, honestly. It makes it feel a bit more chess matchy, which is kind of something I love in sports. It's like my favorite part about baseball is just kind of that it's a big chess match. So the overtime kind of made it feel a little more like that. But no, I'm sorry to all the Chiefs fans that listen. I was not really rooting for you in this one. I appreciate Mahomes' greatness. It's just unbelievable to watch him at this point. But, man, I did not want them to win that game. The 49ers really you can't kick a field goal in overtime like that. That's just such a coward move. Didn't like that call, but and that missed pick, Knowlton. Bolton could have really used it. He did not have nearly the game he did last year. He was playing pretty bad. But
if we're taking our non-homer hat off, it was somewhat of a
last year he was amazing. This year he was not very good. But you know what? He got another ring. He can hit another. Can I get a big old MIZ at the parade?
I hope he does.
Blaine Gabbert, I'm sure he did great with the clipboard.
Well, I know that if you look at the full play in the film, everything that went down for Nick Bolton, you could say it wasn't the best, but he did lead the Super Bowl in tackles for back-to-back years. And I think that's a pretty cool stat to look at for Nick Bolton. Last year against the Eagles, he had 9 tackles in total. This year, he was tied actually with Fred Warner with 13. I think that's a pretty cool stat to throw in there. I know tackles can be miscued because they're total tackles, and he had 8 assisted and 5 solo. We still had the most solo tackles for the Chiefs this year, and that's pretty cool to see a guy staying in the state that he went to college in and already has 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, it's sick. I just get excited. I bought this from like the NFL Players Association, so it's all like off-brand. But look at the YouTube. I have like a Nick Bolton shirt, so I was donning that, cheering for him. I'm happy for the Chiefs. I kind of like just watching Mahomes' greatness. I don't mind rooting for them with the amount of even with the amount of winning that they do. But I do get like the more they keep winning, the more everyone's going to start hating because that's just how it is in sports. You want the dynasty to be dethroned. But I was thinking about this like from a larger NFL context. I'm glad that we have like a new dynasty. Like that, it's the Chiefs. I don't know. It's just like a fun organization to have be really good.
Not really. I disagree.
That's fair. I mean, you grew up in Kansas City, so you might not have,
and not as a Chiefs fan. So.
Yeah, and not as a Chiefs fan. So that's fair. But I don't know. I can appreciate it. The more important thing, fellas, is our best beats of the week, or our Fantastic Four picks, rather, have come to an end for the 2023-24 season. And speaking of dynasties, one continued amongst ourselves. Peyton, congratulations with a
Yep.
record of 48, 36.
Yep,
and
thanks.
4.
That's enough. That's all I need.
beat
Yep, guys,
Kenny.
the dynasty is here. Four-time NFL picks champion. This time we threw the spreads in the mix, only 4 picks a week, and they still couldn't catch me. I fended off all the doubts. Kenny tied it up going into championship week. It didn't matter. There was only one person that could have walked out of this whole debacle with that title, and that's me. I'm still the picks champ. Better luck next year, you two.
Yeah, this was the closest year it's been. I'm glad we did drop it down to 4 games back on the radio days. We did every single game each week, and I don't even want to go back and look at all those records and all those games we
had to go
picking
like
at.
it would like run up against our ending time sometime. We'd have to like fly through them and just pick every single game. But yeah, congrats, Peyton. I'm proud of myself. I finished 46, 38, and 4. That's the best year I've probably ever had. So,
Dude
came
finished
close.
last, and he's proud of himself.
You know what? Baby steps. We're
The
in the infant
standards are
stages.
just different on the other sides of the screen. Let me tell you.
Yeah, gracious winner you are. You
Hell
think
no,
you'd get
I'm
better
not.
at it.
No way.
Fair enough. I guess, yeah, he can keep talking. We have to keep beating, but we'll see what happens in year 5. But yeah, congrats, Peyton. The spreads we had, it was Niners -2. Me and Peyton both got that pick right. We picked the Chiefs. Kenny, your Niners did not win. You didn't have very much faith in the pick when we did that.
I flipped it immediately because it was going to be completely the same as Peyton. We needed something different.
Yeah, you had to make the
the
choice. So.
pick was different.
Yeah, I don't remember then why we had to switch it, but we did.
Well, because you would have at best been able to only tie me. Was the problem?
Yeah, he wanted to go for the win. I respect it. I would have gone 4 for 4, but I picked the alternate line Chiefs -7.5, and they won by 5. So I didn't hit that. But the unders did hit, which all 3 of us bet on the 54.5 line, which, I mean, the 47.5 line also hit, and that one was at least close, and neither of them looked any close in the first half of that game. So I'm glad it went to overtime and we got some more drama to it. But overall, congrats to the Chiefs. Congrats to Nick Bolton.
And congrats to me. One last thing on this. You know what? It was a very good competition this year. I was sweating out that overtime, man, because I was like, for whatever reason, I was like, oh my God, if the under hits, Kenny's going to beat me. But then I remembered he didn't pick the Chiefs. So good job, you guys. You made it very interesting this year. I mean,
yeah,
Bolton, you could have even won it.
Normally it is a wash. So we're getting better. Maybe we'll catch Peyton in year 5. We'll have some more games. I don't know. Maybe we'll throw some mix-up bets in there to try and throw him off his rhythm. I don't know. But regardless, the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. Any other moments in that game you want to highlight that were just wild? Kenny ate 20 wings, apparently. I think we have to make that public.
Save that for later.
All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, halftime show was good.
We can evaluate that right now.
I didn't.
Usher is not in the fraud rankings. He did.
No, that was a very good halftime show. The CBS sound system could maybe be in the fraud rankings because Usher's mic was a little quiet, but made up for it. Especially the second. It was kind of like the Super Bowl. The first half was a little slow, and it really picked up at the end. Good halftime show. Everyone seemed to like the commercials. I don't pay too close attention.
Oh yeah,
to
do we have
that often? The Carl Weathers one was nice.
That was
my favorite.
Do you have a favorite, Kenny, commercial?
I think the Baja Blast one was a lot of fun. It just was funny and catchy.
Yeah.
I think there just wasn't like too many ones that like stood out to me this year.
There wasn't one
I had
that
to keep
stole the
going
show.
back. Yeah. That's kind of feeling it. Sometimes they kind of toe the line with like making an inappropriate joke or to the point that it shouldn't be on TV. And then those ones are usually funnier to me, especially when I get older. I think the Baja Blast one with Aubrey Plaza was my favorite.
That was a good one. I liked the Michelob Ultra one that had Messi and Jason Sudeikis from Ted Lasso. That one was fun. But I'm a soccer guy, so that,
I read a tweet that he wouldn't speak English in when they were filming it. He said he didn't want to speak English.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's very him. He doesn't like to do it if he can help it. So I'm glad they didn't let him. I'm also a Michelob Ultra fan, so no free ads, but good commercial. All right, yeah, we'll have some more Super Bowl content later on, probably in the fraud rankings. But yeah, Congrats to Nick Bolton. Congrats to Blaine Gabbert. Congrats to the Chiefs. Hope you Chiefs fans are enjoying the evening. Shout out Gerard Hamilton from Power Mizzou. It's his 25th birthday, and he's a Chiefs fan. They won on his birthday, so that would have been a sour thing if they didn't. But speaking of Gerard, who covers Mizzou football, we'll segue to that. We have one big thing to talk about, but first let's touch on Jacob Yoro, the new hire. He's coming in as a defensive analyst. He was at Hawaii for 7 seasons in a couple roles. I know he was there a little bit, briefly touched or had ties with Corey Batoon when they were both there. He was the outside linebackers coach at Hawaii in 2019, and then he also coached the Nickelbacks in 2018 when Batoon was there. So they have some intersection, maybe his kind of doing. But yeah, Jacob Yoro, any thoughts on him? I will spoil this. He was never at Arkansas State. So our streak of talking about coaches that were there is broken.
That's a bummer. But yeah, obviously more of a defensive analyst type. It's nice to get a guy that was a defensive coordinator at the Group of 5 level to maybe take a bit of a demotion. But yeah, I obviously don't know much about this guy other than the fact that, like you mentioned, he has ties with Batoon, so that makes sense. Get some familiarity there in the staff.
Coach safeties as well. I don't know where his priorities will be as a defensive analyst, where his mindset will be, and what his duties will be. But I think that's kind of interesting just to see with Blake Baker moving on to LSU. And Blake Baker actually is not even coaching safeties anymore at LSU. It's Jake Olson's job. Just to kind of keep a position that maybe strayed away from how good it was in 2022 into 2023. Had a kind of a rough start, but there's still a lot of talent on that side of the ball, even with Jalen Carley's gone, a couple freshmen coming into year 2, and Philip Roche, who saw a couple of different looks as, a blitzer, even in the secondary, just one guy wanted to throw out there. We'll see how that one kind of works out.
Yeah, I meant to mention that off the top too. I feel like that's the most interesting note, is that most recently at Hawaii, he worked with the safeties. We obviously don't know right now like what Corey Batoon's going to all dish out, but they do need to fill a hole there, and that was Blake Baker's specialty. So maybe bringing in a guy to help Batoon, who has some familiarity with him and clearly has some familiarity with coaching the secondary. So I think it's a good hire. I mean, some reinforcements. I think the nicest thing is that he coached safeties and he worked with Batoon at Hawaii. Was not at Arkansas State though. I'm bummed that streak got broken. There's the pipeline there in Houston. Those are Mizzou's 2 favorite pipelines. Staying on the coaching stuff though, this is the I think kind of big thing and very worrying thing if you want to go there as a Mizzou fan, which is of course the Kirby Moore rumors. I want to preface that they are all rumors right now. We don't know what's going to happen, but obviously he's now kind of being linked to the now vacant Alabama offensive coordinator job. This is because Alabama's recently hired offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb decided to go take the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator job. When that happened, and now with Kirby Moore being linked to it, I just keep going back to what Gabe told us when he came on, which is when it comes to recruiting and coaches, nothing is ever final until you see them in a jersey or on the practice field, because, Ryan Grubb literally went to Alabama, didn't even watch a practice, and then went and took a different job. And now, Kirby Moore, who he's signed deals, he's not been at Mizzou long, is linked to another new job. What's y'all's take kind of on that? I have some read into what Alabama maybe could do, but, obviously not a great thing to hear given that Baker was gone. It would be, I would think pretty panic stations if they lose both coordinators.
Yeah, it would be time to panic a bit if they were to lose Kirby Moore, because odds are you don't lose both your coordinators and get better on each side of the ball. That just doesn't really happen. And look, this is not like Blake Baker to LSU. There's ties between DeBoer and Kirby Moore, obviously, from their Fresno State days. That's where this is why Kirby Moore's name is being floated. But, nobody has concretely said, they want Kirby Moore. It's just people saying this guy makes sense. Within, the first day of LSU's job being open, I remember the Matt Zenitz, Brandon Marcello report, Blake Baker had emerged as a leading candidate. There's nothing like that out there for Kirby Moore. There hasn't really been anything other than Alabama fans and Alabama writers doing just some connecting of the dots. But boy, oh boy, man, we talked about how when they lost Baker, like that would probably free up the money because they probably weren't going to spend as much on DC. But if that's what it's going to take, you kind of have to splurge, do whatever it takes to keep Kirby Moore. You cannot lose Kirby Moore this late in the cycle, and especially after losing Blake Baker.
Man, does it suck to win? That's the thing I really took away from it. Winning the Cotton Bowl, getting 11 wins, puts a lot of attention towards you, and that's what it did for Blake Baker. LSU fired 4 defensive staffers on the field and went in conference and stole the best defensive coordinator around, someone who had one of the best seasons and held a team to 3 points in the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State team had a pretty good season. For Kirby Moore to leave, that would just be even worse. And, I think even people were throwing Drinkwitz's name out there when there was some uncertainty if who was going to take the job at Alabama. And this is just what happens. And it's frustrating, I bet, for a lot of fans. And, we have no idea if Kirby Moore will even be offered the job, or even if you look into it, just what we've been seeing and what we've been reading. That's why we bring it up. The one thing that just always sucks as well when you look at it from a team standpoint is, what coaches would he bring with him? Jack, you would probably know this a little bit more about what the openings are on the offensive staff, because I think an offensive line coach followed Grubb back to Seattle with the Seahawks. I don't think that that's something that will happen for the Tigers, but it's just always just a thing to just worry about, because you saw Kevin Peoples and Jake Olson. Jake Olson wasn't in a coaching spot, more of an analyst. 2 of those guys leaving the program with Blake Baker.
Yeah, I think you both of you make a very good point to preface all of it, is that it's not as concrete right now as Blake Baker was. I do think that's an important thing to note. But you're right, Kenny. Yeah, I don't know what Kirby Moore would do if he left in terms of other coaches he would bring, but that offensive line role is open as well, because Scott Huff, who was Alabama's offensive line coach, also went with Grubb to Seattle. What I can offer, which I feel like, Missouri fans might find this information valuable, is like what Alabama might look into doing and what kind of their options are, and if where Kirby Moore stands with that. The other thing that's been talked about is Kalen DeBoer, Alabama's coach, promoting Jamarcus Shepard and Nick Sheridan, who are the wide receiver and tight ends coach, to possibly being co-offensive coordinators, because they both worked with DeBoer at Washington. They know the offense already. And to be honest, in my opinion, the longer it stretches out to where we're not hearing Kirby Moore as an outright candidate or nothing's been put on the table, the more I think that is what's going to happen. Because just like Mizzou would be in a panic situation to replace Kirby Moore, I think Alabama, if they really want him, would want to get him in pretty damn quickly if they need to teach him the offense in a month before spring camp starts, and they need to teach it to the players. So that's an option. Nick Sheridan, the tight ends coach, worked with DeBoer. He's coached quarterbacks, which is another thing Alabama needs to fill, because that's what Ryan Grubb did as well. So that's kind of the other option there. I haven't seen too many guys other than Kirby Moore in terms of outside hires, but I think that internal thing is kind of the main competition between whether they do that or bring Kirby Moore in. I don't think they know quite yet, but in my opinion, like I said, I think it's, that becomes more likely the longer this goes, where we aren't hearing anything on that front, anything getting stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the more I kind of think about it too, taking a guy with you, I wanted to jump back in on that. If for the offensive line position, I don't think Brandon Jones is leaving with Kirby Moore. His ties are to Drinkwitz. Drinkwitz got him on staff before. I guess not before, but I think it was before Kirby Moore joined, if I'm not mistaken. It was after, but I'm still at the same time.
It was like around the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a Houston thing. Yeah.
Still at the same time, I think that's a Drinkwitz guy through and through. And if for Kevin Peoples, you kind of look at that, he had the ties to Louisiana, got back to the state that he knew kind of a little bit better than Missouri, and followed him to probably a program that's I mean, has better history. So I wouldn't be worried about that if that does come down the line that Kirby Moore is looking to leave or looking at that position.
Yeah. I agree. And again, it'll be, I mean, it's fluid. Like the coaching stuff is just crazy. It's been such a wild off season for just like coaching searches and stuff. Like Kenny, you always joke that like we've kind of learned that, we're relatively young in covering football, but like it just never ends. The season just never ends. No matter what month it is. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on things again. I'll also say, from seeing what Alabama fans have been saying, they would actually be pretty happy if Kirby Moore comes through the door. That doesn't, make a difference whether they hire him or not, but does speak to how good of a coach he is and how much Mizzou would obviously, like to keep him and how much we would like to keep him around as well. But yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing. Alabama needs a guy who can coach quarterbacks. Their tight ends coach did that in the past. He's been with DeBoer. The other thing about Kalen DeBoer's offense too is like it's his offense. It wasn't Ryan Grubb's. So I don't know. I think that is also impactful because it seems like Kalen DeBoer would be willing, if it comes down to it, to call plays on the sideline and be kind of the play caller. So I don't know if like that might lean against if he doesn't necessarily need a guy like Kirby Moore to come in and do that for him. If he's already kind of more of an offensive mind, he's comfortable doing that himself. So that could weigh against it too. But that's the info. Take it for what it is. I think, yeah, the main synopsis right now is that it's not as concrete that he's emerged as a candidate as Blake Baker was when he left, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. We'll keep an eye on it as well. I was going to look into like if he does leave, possible replacements, but I think we just save that for if it becomes more of a possibility, because I don't want to one scare anybody, and two, like I don't want Kirby Moore to leave. I don't want to think about a Kirby Moore.
Spoiler alert: it would probably not be as good as Kirby Moore.
No, yeah, no matter who it would be, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on it, and just see what kind of emerges on both fronts. It's just coaching is wild. There's nothing concrete when everyone's like, but they signed a contract, but they did this. No, they didn't. If they want to leave, if they like a different job better, they're going to take it. Look at what Ryan Grubb just did. So, yeah, that's probably, if I don't know, you guys have any final thoughts on that before we segue to basketball?
I would probably just hope that Mizzou pays whatever it takes to keep Kirby Moore. Make him the highest paid coordinator in college football if you need to.
There you go. Hey, they just got maybe they pull some of that donation from the NIL fund. Throw it at Kirby Moore. I don't know. Little bonus. Maybe envelope McDonald's bag full of money. Tennessee style. Was it Tennessee that did that? Who's the McDonald's bags full of money? Is it Tennessee?
Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah. That's right. Well, we'll keep an eye out. Let's segue and talk about another loss for Mizzou men's basketball. 75-51. Tigers drop to Mississippi State. I'm going to come out fully admitting off the bat, I didn't watch this game. I had a friend celebrating a birthday. Normally, I would prioritize the Tigers almost anything over anything else, but I said this game will probably go how every other game pretty much does, and it did. Would you look at that? So don't think I missed much. I've gathered a lot of what happened from reading, so I have stuff to add. What the hell happened this time, guys?
I only watched the second half because I was working. Quite frankly, there's no real reason to tune in. It's the same thing. This team's past the point of trying to even be competitive. I mean, they've quit. They've rolled over. Like, they're going to probably go 0-18. There's no real fight at this point. They kind of had a nice little flurry at the end of the first half from what I've seen to make it a 4-point game. And then it was over within 2 minutes of the second half. Yeah, they're bad. I don't know if you guys knew that. They're pretty goddamn terrible at playing basketball. And I don't have takeaways that are any different from the last 15 games or whatever.
Hey, I got a couple. I watched a good amount of this game. I'm a little bit more of a fan of these games when they're around like the 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock tips on Saturday. Get late into Saturday night, I'm not going to give you much attention, especially where this season has gone. Wore the new yellow jerseys. Maybe that was probably the one plus, but only Nick Honor was the only guy on the floor for the Tigers to make a three in this game. 3 from 18 from deep it's just bad. You heard the announcers talk a lot about Nick Honor trying to get back into that rhythm, find where he was last season, just continue to take shots. He went 3 for 7. Just no one was making it from deep, and it never really felt like the Tigers were in reach, even when it was 30-26 at halftime. Just a terribly low scoring game as well for the Tigers, especially just in the first half, 30-26, 45-25. Mississippi State took full control in the second half. I thought Mabor would get some more run. It guess it was more than the last 2 times that they faced Mississippi State. I did mention, with him on the floor, thought it would work a little bit better against Tolu Smith because he was playing a lot more minutes, played 19 against Vanderbilt and 13 against Texas A&M. I thought they were kind of preparing him for more run in each game. Got him on the floor for 11 minutes, didn't take any shots, had a block in this game. That's all I really have from this one.
Didn't really help stop Tolu Smith either, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's still at a double-double. I have a couple stats that I read that shout out to Drew King for bringing these to my attention. Mississippi State had 15 steals. Mizzou had 20 turnovers total. Aiden Shaw and Connor Vanover, the only 2 players to not have a turnover. Mizzou shot 3 for 18 from 3, and then I think you mentioned that 4-point gap. Peyton, Mississippi State at one point went on a 17-2 run to make it a 50-30 ball game. I heard the transition defense was really bad. You mentioned the giving up, Peyton. Like, it just looked like this team just didn't want to run back on
How
defense.
do you have bad transition defense against Mississippi State, who plays the most archaic, boring style of offense in the conference?
Yeah.
Like, that's so bad.
I had another stat. Oh my gosh, did I delete it? Wait. Oh yeah, I found it. This one felt pretty damning. Nick Honor and Tamar Bates, between them, made 7 shots and had 10 turnovers between the 2 of them. So pretty bad. Tamar Bates in particular took it was an atypical Tamar Bates game, because even, sometimes you can look at a stat line and be pretty impressed. Pretty much did nothing. 11 points, 3 for 11 from the field, 6 rebounds. I'll also, just while we're on Tamar Bates, I'll address one part of a comment we got on the YouTube. Tamar Bates has been putting up good numbers. I can tell you right now, there's no chance he will go off to the NBA after this season. I don't really care if unless it's like Dalton Connect plus for the last 6 games. Even then, I doubt it. He has some, I think, actually pretty major question marks on defense. This Mississippi State game really highlighted those. Also, just as a scorer, like, he really needs the ball in his hands to score. He doesn't offer you a whole lot off ball. Like, he can catch and shoot fine, but that's not how he runs in Mizzou's defense, and that's not an ideal kind of NBA wing for the way he plays. There's leaps he'll have to make. Can he get there? Maybe. But I wanted to touch on that just because I read about it. Anything else?
Nope, they're bad, man. It doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Matter.
Oh, yeah. We should look at the future too. We want to take a look at the scholarship chart for next season. Just to segue, this team is going 0-18. Also, this was also something Gabe tweeted, because the discourse is just going to keep getting louder as they keep losing. This team is going to go winless. Dennis Gates is not going to get fired for it.
Nope.
Carry on. I think that's what
they cannot
Gabe's
afford it.
word.
Straight up can't.
Yeah, they won't. Dennis will not be fired after this season, no matter how much you want or don't want it, for that matter. Yeah, they stink. Scholarship chart for next season. This is I think an important thing to revisit. Following guys are done after this year. They have no more eligibility. It is Sean East, John Tange, though he can come back with the medical red shirt. So he's an exception. So Sean East, Nick Honor, Noah Carter, Caleb Grill is also a slightly weird one. They are saying, Dennis has.
If he comes back and plays 1 minute, he's done.
He's done. Yeah. Jesus Carolero is done. Connor Vanover is done. 2025 is Tamar Bates and Kurt Lewis. So Kurt Lewis can come back for another season. 2026, Aiden Shaw. He's the only sophomore on the roster. Yeah, I'll get to it. 2027's the 3 freshmen: Anthony Robinson, Trent Pearson, Jordan Butler, and then 2028 are the guys incoming. That's T.O. Barrett, Marcus Allen, Peyton Marshall, Trent Burns, and Anar Boateng. Peyton, I want to go to what we talked about off air first, which is pretty much everybody bar, and maybe even including
I would
some
take
of the
away
freshmen.
Bar. I would
Okay,
take away
pretty much
Bar
everybody.
on everyone on the roster.
Okay, I guess bar Tamar Bates.
Nope. I would say
Not even?
I don't even think Tamar Bates, look, 99 times out of 100, you're probably going to want him on the team next year. I can see a way, though, that you maybe want to just completely raise everything about the team to the ground. I would not say it's impossible. First of all, Jesus Carolero, I did not know he was out of eligibility this year. Hallelujah. Okay. Fittingly enough, hallelujah for Jesus. He needed to go. Kurt Lewis, get it. No. He can have that last year somewhere else. Aiden Shaw, that's someone I just don't think the growth is there. You're going to be under pressure to win next year. Don't think you have time to wait around. The freshmen, I would say the freshmen are probably safe, but I would say if you see an upgrade out there and you're running low on roster spots, maybe you pick one and you move on because you got to win a lot more next year. Like you need to be in the 6 to 10 range in the SEC, I would say, for people to feel good about where this is going. The freshmen need to look a lot better than this year's freshmen. Those are basically just my quick thoughts on that.
That was something I wanted to bring up last time, and I totally forgot to. Is we haven't been in a position to where we see a freshman jump ship with the same coach still at the helm. You saw 2 freshmen jump ship when Konzo Martin was fired, and it's a little bit different now. And we heard a lot about Trent Pierce. Drew King told us about it. The staff was very excited about what he could bring. Just really haven't seen it. Ups and downs, some injuries, sicknesses that have held him out. At the same time, like Peyton said, if somebody's out there, maybe they do jump, and then there's the Tigers go elsewhere with it. Someone that's on here. Oh yeah, sorry, Cato was also on there because it's 3. So that's Brazil, Brookshire, and Cato. At the same time, I know someone brought up in our comments from Bor Mayak, he's not on scholarship. I believe last year he was handed a scholarship because there was an extra at the time, but he is no longer on scholarship. Also on this list we're looking at from Gabe on Power Mizzou with the scholarships. Caleb is not on here, but Caleb Brown is still under scholarship for next season, and that's another guy that the Tigers could free open a spot if they choose to in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think the thing like Peyton, we were texting about this just off air. Like, there's gonna be a couple, I think, hard conversations that it feels like have to be had. Like, I don't know, and maybe this is foolish because I feel like Dennis is worrying about his own job security now, but I feel like it's hard for me to envision the type of coach that Dennis is to say, you need to go, as much as it needs to be said to someone like Kurt Lewis or Caleb Brown.
It's hard to imagine, but I mean, geez, man, don't assemble a roster that goes 0-18, and you won't have to have those conversations. I mean, and it won't just be a straight up, you need to leave. It would just be like a straight up, like, I think you're probably best served looking elsewhere type of thing. But I mean, geez, man, I mean, you can't come back next year with guys like Kurt Lewis on the roster. Like, that just is not something you can roll with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think if we're looking at numbers, then with Sean East being gone, Nick Honor, Noah Carter, let's just say for the sake of it, Caleb Grill goes, Carolero goes, Vanover goes. That's 6 spots. If you get Lewis and Shaw to transfer, that's 8 guys out the door. You can fill. Yeah, but you can fill all 8 of those spots with the freshmen, the 5 in 2028, and then the sophomores or the rising sophomores that are coming in. So you're realistically, like, you're talking maybe 3 to 4 available transfer spots. Say a Caleb Grill maybe comes back, or Caleb Brown comes back, or Kurt Lewis comes. Like if one or two of those combined guys that'd be a reasonable, like, rough estimate, right? It's like 3 to 4 spots you're maybe looking at in the portal.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I almost think I wouldn't bring back someone like John Tonje and someone like Caleb Grill. Like, maybe if they were a bit better, you can bring back the Tonje in particular, just because he was a very good player at Colorado State, but he was a shell of himself this year. I don't know if you can count on him having a bounce back. I don't know if you can count on anyone on this roster currently giving you something really valuable for next year, other than maybe Tamar Bates. And even like recently, Tamar Bates has been a bit inefficient. He's been a little turnover prone. Teams have really keyed in on him. Maybe that's because when Sean East isn't on the floor, he's like and sometimes Nick Honor hitting a three, like he's the only one that can give you any scoring. But I don't know, man. There's so many holes. I just don't know if you can rely on someone like John Tonje coming back next year.
I could maybe even call it a gamble almost, just because we haven't seen Dennis Gates and his staff land any big time transfers. And if you're not going to have experience, you're not going to have guys coming in that are going to make a big difference. Maybe you keep a guy like John Tonje around for a little bit longer just to see if you can replace him. I know that's kind of a tough thing to do, but you got to keep him around just in case. And the more I look at it, I think there's only 3 spots. I think you're keeping those 3 freshmen, the rising sophomores. You're bringing those 5, and for the people that don't know, it's you have 13 scholarships.
Yeah, I should have said that. Yeah,
and so you get Tamar Bates, Aiden Shaw. That's 10 right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're looking at 3, probably 2 if you keep John Tonje.
Yeah,
there is one other thing to consider, and Dennis Gates has himself alluded to this. It's that you don't necessarily have to be capped by that scholarship count. Dennis Gates has mentioned you can get creative in getting other guys on the floor. Like there was talk about maybe having Isaiah Mosley come back, not on scholarship, but just having NIL pay for his school, basically. Like that was a discussion I remember Mizzou fans having. Didn't wind up happening, obviously, but it is something. I will say on the transfer thing, we have seen Dennis Gates bring in impact guys. I mean, I would count Demoy Hodge, even though he brought him in from where he coached before. DeAndre Golston did have a very big impact. So I would say they have shown it. Tamar Bates has been a hit mostly. I don't see a way you can go into the offseason with only 2 or 3 scholarships open, though. Like, you need to really turn this thing over.
I was saying more of this past year because you saw it. He brought in everyone that he could. But this was his first true off season as the coach after a very successful year, and he had all of this success behind him and didn't draw anyone in. That's where I was talking about it. That now you're going into an off season with excuse my language, but a shittier situation than it was last year. You have a shittier season behind you and not a great track record to show to these guys that are in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think the 13 number, I think you make a good point where you can get creative with that. But Kenny, to your point, it's more like you don't want to worry about that from a rotational perspective. I mean, you're going to have 8 young guys, 5 rookies, and 3 still unproven kids that you maybe trying to get something out of. You already have them taking up spots. And then, if you're trying to make 15 people work, that you want to get involved in a lot, and like 4 of those guys are veterans, but they're new. Like that's a lot to work in. So yeah, you would hope, I think, that they go in with more spots available is kind of the overarching point I make on Tonje too. I'm on Kenny's side. I think with that, I'm willing to treat it just as like a brand new transfer. With the kind of incentive, if you want to call it that Dennis said he was the best player over the summer when they were playing against an 0-18 team in practice every game. So I guess how much of an incentive that really is, I guess none, but I'm willing to look at it like a new transfer. He brought him in really early in the spring last year, so he clearly liked something about him. Maybe that'll be, I'll come to regret that a year from now if he's kind of clogging up a spot. But yeah, it's you're hoping he goes in with like 3 to 4, but it could wind up being, less if someone like an Aiden Shaw or Kurt Lewis or Caleb Brown opt to come back and again, but I think you're right, Payne. Like Dennis should operate with just trying to get as many guys as he can.
I would also say like we are saying like 8 sophomore and freshmen coming in. I mean, like the 3 freshmen this year, soon to be sophomores, have not been very good. Like, so there's that part to consider. And the 5 guys you're bringing in next year, they're not one and done types. Like,
right.
Anor Boateng is maybe the closest thing to that. And he's not going to be one and done. So there's probably going to be 2, maybe 3 of them that come in and don't play a whole lot right away. So it's just very tricky. I mean, it's just in the new age of college athletics in general, this is just a tried and true example. If you have one bad portal cycle, it can totally ruin everything you're trying to build because, I mean, they whiffed on Caden Shedrick and wound up with Vanover. They whiffed on Matthew Cleveland, only wound up with Carolero. They didn't get Caleb Love, and Kumar Bates has been good, but I mean, they don't really play. I don't know if I would say they're kind of the same thing. It's just it's a very tricky situation, and I think, like you guys both said, you don't want to lose a lot of your young guys that you're hoping to be the foundation in the future, but hey, you're kind of going to be caught in a numbers game. There's a good chance you maybe do see something like that happen.
Yeah. And I think overall, the summary of this is no matter what you have in terms of availability, you go after whoever you can and you make the scholarship numbers work later. And, maybe you're upfront with the kids about that, but like you have to, I mean, absolutely just go off in the portal. You cannot whiff again. Like you just, like the players you just named, Peyton. I mean, it was guy after guy after guy last year of just, nope, close, but no cigar. And then they end up having success elsewhere. I mean, shoot, Jimmy Bell Jr., who plays for Mississippi State, was a guy that Mizzou wanted, an anchor kind of bruiser center that I think this team would have loved to have over Mabor for how much Mabor, tries and has some good moments, not as, established at a high level. So they will have some spots. I think they're going to play the portal, and they should play the portal like they have more spots than maybe they do. And hopefully that works out. Hopefully you have if anything, an overloaded roster that you just try and make work later. Cause you're right about the young guys. You can't depend on those freshmen for big minutes off the bat. They're just not going to be able to give it to you. Look at the guys this year. I mean, they've been thrown into the fire, and I mean, as good as they are potential wise, haven't responded.
They're
right?
bad. Yeah, they've been bad.
Yeah.
No way.
It's a mess. This will get more of a fun conversation when I think the portal actually opens and we get some names that are kind of exciting to like look for. Like, oh, Mizzou should target this. Who's your UAB guy, Peyton?
Oh God, he's got a fun name. Let me tell you. His name is Yaxel. Yaxel Lendenborg. Okay, this guy is tailor-made for Dennis Gates. Okay, he's a former JUCO guy. First of all, boom, there you go, Dennis. This guy is 6'9", so he can kind of slot in maybe those forward spots. Maybe he can give you some minutes at the 5. Dennis Gates loves positionless basketball. Okay, so this guy can slide into like 3 different spots. He averages 12.3 points a game and 10 rebounds a game. Dennis Gates, if you can hear me, get Yaxel Lendenborg in black and gold and white and whatever. Get him to Cologne. Get him. Don't talk to anybody else before you talk to this guy. Get Yaxel Lendenborg.
See,
I wish Jim Boeheim left Syracuse 1 year earlier, and Joseph Girard went to Clemson 1 year earlier. Joseph Girard in a Mizzou jersey would be my favorite thing ever. Unfortunately, it won't happen. That's the only guy that came to my mind, just because I loved him at Syracuse, and he's a Clemson guy. And Dennis Gates loves his Clemson guards.
This is why this is fun, because Peyton especially will go gaga once the portal opens. He'll find guys and he's going to report them to us. So that's a good preview for how it's going to be. For the off season for men's basketball, we're just going to be finding guys and just being like, we want this dude. We want this dude. Like, we're going to have the former future Missouri Tigers mantra is going to go crazy.
Dennis Gates and the staff, they reach out to literally everyone in the portal. So we'll have like 50 targets a day to read off. So
yeah. It'll be great lists. It'll be great list season. Maybe I'll make a graphic. Just be like, here's who we talked to this week and how much we like them. We'll rank them. I don't know. Anything to just talk about not the on-court product and get hopeful that this can turn around. Because we all like Dennis Gates. I mean, like, he's a great coach. He's obviously a great guy. Yeah, they like his players love playing for him. So I don't know. I hope it works. Hopefully that's a little bit more illumination on the scholarship situation. Meantime, we will continue to reflect on these losses. Tigers do not have a game until next Saturday. Bless. They have their bye week. Next Saturday, I think, is Ole Miss Part 1. So
sad. I used to know like the month in advance last year. Like, I would remember the opponents. Now I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a brutal time, but with that, we'll just keep an eye on names. It is just think of names. Everyone right now, go watch mid-major basketball, watch whoever, and just identify people you want. Start spamming them on Twitter, whatever. Just start getting the attention of like who.
And don't comment any SLU guys. Please do not comment any SLU guys. I'm not interested in anyone from the Billikens.
Good note. With that, we'll move on. Finish the show.
Terrence Hargrove Jr.
Okay.
Gibson
boy.
Jimerson, Larry Hughes second.
Quick hits. Okay. Finish off the Super Bowl recap show. That's what I'm calling this. I don't know. We got to put Super Bowl in the title. It's good SEO, Kenny. We'll finish off with quick hits. You got Ken Sports Shorts. Is it Super Bowl related?
It is Super Bowl related, Jack.
I knew
Thank you for asking. I'm not going to include Nick Bolton in this.
Tucker McCann.
Tucker McCann was mentioned in a group chat earlier with our friends today, but that's not who this is about. We're looking at Mizzou alum who have started in the last, or I guess not the last, but Super Bowls dating back to 1999, and there are 5. So there are 5 Mizzou Tigers that have started in Super Bowls since 1999, and we're going to start in 1999 with Mike Jones. I just gave it away. I am so tired. It's so late.
I was going to say, are we naming the teams here?
It is very late.
Yeah, we're gonna jump to 2001.
That was the only one I knew too, because Mike Jones made the tackle.
Yeah,
famous Al Michaels call.
It's 12:30.
Yeah, it's
tired. And
don't say we don't do good things for you guys. We didn't want to wait to do to talk about the Super Bowl.
Well, I missed it. Okay, so it's 5 since 2001. Mike Jones would have been 6 if we were going to 1999. I'm excluding Nick Bolton, as I just said. This is a cornerback for the New England Patriots in 2001.
Peyton, you mentioned this guy. You said this guy. We were talking about.
wait.
We were talking about something, and you mentioned.
No, I don't think I know who it is.
This is going to be a drowsy.
Roger Worley was in the 60s, so it's not him.
What's his initials?
OS.
Oh, I don't know, actually.
Oliver Simonson.
We might have some listeners that would have got this, but it was cornerback Otis Smith.
No way.
That's not who you're talking about, Peyton. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're going to jump to 2012, actually 2013 for the Super Bowl for the San Francisco 49ers. Tigers had 2, relatively easy.
Yeah.
And the second one?
Alden.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. Good job.
Alden and Justin Smith.
God, Alden Smith, for what it's worth, before I went to Mizzou, now I like Alden Smith. I despised Alden Smith because he would torment the Seahawks on the 49ers defense. He was so good. So credit to him. But
speaking of tormenting the Seahawks got tormented in this Super Bowl in 2015. Super Bowl 49.
This is
one offensive tackle.
Justin Britt.
Just Justin Britt, yeah.
That is correct. And the last one before Nick Bolton, these last 2 years in 2022 for the Los
And the
Angeles
win?
Rams. And
Yeah,
that is
Win.
correct. You guys did great this
Oh, we
week.
killed
I
that.
apologize for saying Mike Jones. It is late. All right, Dirty Birds of the weekend. My Dirty Bird goes to the Kansas Jayhawks club hockey team. Whew. God, Wally, what is it? Wally
Smoke.
Mop?
Wally pipped.
Oh,
Wally
mollywopped. Mollywopped. That's the correct
Wally
term.
pipped.
Millie Rock?
They got mollywopped. It's when someone takes your shirt and puts it over your head and then punches you. And that's what the Mizzou club men's hockey team did.
That happened to you a lot as a kid,
winning
Kenny?
12-7 on Sunday. That was our Super Bowl. Our Super Bowl was this one, winning the MACHA championship. Beautiful for the Tigers, Dirty Birds of Kansas.
Kansas keeps beating us in fake sports like basketball. We beat them in real sports like esports and club hockey. So,
I'm like not a huge. I feel bad. I should be more of a club hockey follower from Mizzou, but I swear every time they play Kansas, Mizzou wins. Like I would like to know what the all-time series record is because I feel like it's heavily in favor.
They
of the
mollywop them.
Tigers. Shout out to Sean.
Wally Pipham. My Dirty Bird, we touched on this earlier, is the Seahawks for hiring Ryan Grubb. Not sure what that was all about, but good for you guys, I guess. Ryan Grubb, who has never called plays at the NFL level, is just going to go and do it now. Maybe they'll draft Michael Penix. Maybe they'll be changing coaching staffs in 2 years. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll throw my 2 cents in here just because it feels quite funny that like it's a lot of my teams intersecting. I cover Alabama, so I have to write about Ryan Grubb leaving. Obviously, do Mizzou, so the Kirby Moore news emerged, and then I am a Seahawks fan. So Peyton, your words about Ryan Grubb and being unproven resonate with me greatly. I'm nervous, but intrigued to see what happens. I like Michael Penix, and I feel like now with Ryan Grubb coming in, it feels like the Seahawks are like probably going to try and draft him. I would think. And he's a lefty, so I'll take it. But yeah, it's just been very funny watching everything intersect. I have like 3 different perspectives I have to consider of being like nervous as a Seahawks fan, even more nervous as a Mizzou fan if Kirby Moore goes to Alabama, and then just like, I don't know, have to do more work because coach left Alabama. So a lot of things going on. My Dirty Bird of the week, I'm making up for a lack of Mid-Major Monday in the betting with the Mid-Major Monday shout out from over the weekend.
In general, you've really skipped out on that recently.
I have. I'm going back to actual birds. This is an actual bird. My Dirty Bird of the week, Mid-Major Basketball, Youngstown State, the Penguins in a huge clash, guys, in the Horizon League, one of my favorite leagues in college basketball, with the Green Bay Phoenix. And Green Bay won on a buzzer beater. Apparently, they didn't have their best player. Green Bay is at the top of the Horizon League. Keep an eye on the Phoenix for March Madness. They took down the Penguins at home. Youngstown State, for that, you are my Dirty Bird because you're not going dancing, I don't think, now. Of that.
One of the most unbelievable turnarounds in D1. I mean, last year, Green Bay went like 2-29 or something.
Yeah, they're really bad.
Yeah, so they're back rocking the Resch Center. But yeah, good Dirty Bird.
Is that the arena?
Yeah, the Resch Center, because that's where
shout.
Wisconsin high school girls basketball tournament also culminates in the Resch Center.
And that's Peyton's job. Yeah, shout out. Yeah, so they might make the tournament. Anyway, what's that next segment?
What time is it, Knowlton? What time is it, Knowlton? It's a 2-man fraud show. Kenny, you're an honorable mentionable fraud. You know why? Because Kenny doesn't want to wake his mommy up. Okay?
He doesn't want to wake
too late.
Kenny's a fraud. At number 6 this week.
Don't mute me. You're on the fraud rankings up next.
Yeah, hey. You don't get to touch the mute, Kenny, you fraud. We're going to start at number 5. And we're going non-sports related. We're going with PETA, the organization known as PETA. They were calling out fruit chicken wings. You are fraud. I'm going to eat my chicken wings. They got ratioed once again on Twitter. They are fraud.
Number 4, On the countdown, another dirty bird for you. It's Caitlin Clark, guys. She had 31 points in 3 quarters. Couldn't hit score for the record in the 4th quarter. Had a big goose egg, a big hawk egg, if you will. Hawkeyes, more like broad eyes. Caitlin Clark also not the only dirty bird from Iowa basketball today. Their head coach was very upset that they did not get to talk to the media first. So this is PS.
Play music during our free throws.
Play music during our free throws?
Fraud throws, more like. Fraud guy.
Up next, we're going back to the Super Bowl. Christian McCaffrey, you're getting singled out, buddy. Best running back in the league, and he's got the jitters. We're gonna fill the ball on the first snap of the first drive of the game.
Not ready to play.
Let's bring in another spot eye. Fran McCaffrey, not related to Christian, but you can make a joke that he's Rod McCaffrey.
For number 2, we're going to send it to our correspondent Hans over in Germany. Hans?
Oh, yes,
thank you, Jack. Number 2, we are going to the Bundesliga, the Bayern Munich. They are supposedly the best team in the Bundesliga, but they are frauds. They lost to Bayer Leverkusen, the greatest team of all time, the unwritten rules team. Bayer Leverkusen 3-0 over Bayern Munich. Not much. I've lost the German accent at the end of this. I'm tired.
Oh boy, I'm getting dizzy from all this headbanging.
Bayer Leverkusen.
Super upbeat song. Oh my God, I'm seeing stars. Number 1 in the fraud rankings. Did you think we were going to let you off the hook, Bloody Niners? Hell no.
Bloody Niners.
Kyle Shanahan, you went for it on 4th and 3 earlier in the game, and it paid off with the touchdown. What happened in overtime, dude? You're inside the chain. Patrick Mahomes just went out on the sideline. Why are you not going for it? You're kicking a field goal with the guy that had a PAT blocked. Really foolish stuff. Fraudy Niners. You're the number 1 fraud of the week.
Number 6 fraud
is
the number 1 fraud.
We them frauds.
Great performance last year at halftime.
Viva Fraud Vegas.
There you go. I was just gonna say we'll bring the singing back next week. We'll come up with songs. I know people like Kenny doing the singing. I promise I will have a song next week for my frauds. Because we want to please the people. But Ken Payton kind of did at the end there. Viva Fraud Vegas. Although you don't want to commit fraud in Las Vegas, they'll keep you there.
Dude, I gave myself a headache with all that headbang. Fraud number.
Thank you to Hans, by the way. Hans over our Leverkusen correspondent Hans. He's reporting. They're undefeated. I don't know. I think I was texting Kenny this. It is kind of unreal that we picked them as our team and how great they've been. Like it's like a historical run they're on. It's very funny that they're this good and we picked them as our show's team. Anyway, Kenny, what's our ratio this week? It's a little personal, huh?
Yeah, I guess you could say so. I don't know why it would be personal, but this ratio of the week goes out to Bally Sports Indiana for a post that whoever was working that night posted on Saturday for the Pacers game against the New York Knicks, saying
"Bing reading that like he doesn't know who they play."
#Pacers with 2 graphics, one for Tyrese Halliburton and another for Miles Turner. Tyrese Halliburton 22 points, 3 rebounds, 12 assists. Miles Turner 23 points, 8 rebounds, and he went 9 for 9 from the field. Ended up getting to 148 likes, but there for a while, more quote tweets, more replies than likes, and a lot of Knicks fans weren't happy with this individual saying "Bing Bong" in the year 2024. There were also 7 bookmarks. All I got to say is it worked, suckers. I just got a bunch of views from my soon-to-be former employer, and I'm in your head rent-free. Maybe I'll start paying rent because I'm staying here for too long.
My favorite reply to Kenny's Bing Bong tweet was just the using Bing Bong in 2023, and it was the Shaq in the Celtics uniform. One of those.
If you go on your phone, you can see there were a lot of quote tweets with videos that we're not going to bring up on here that people with the same caption put, and then a video of something gruesome or something inappropriate. People are not happy with me.
Yeah, not good. Good job, Kenny. Way
This
to go
one
out
comes
with a bang.
from my favorite TV series, The Today Show. Kenny sent Jack and I a photo of Al Roker. Knowlton will not see it for another 6 days. Don't worry about it. But
Wait, what?
Guys, what's orange and sounds like a parrot? Think hard. Don't overthink, but think. You
Actually wanna-
get some brain food for this, you know?
Bird brain. I don't know.
Orange and parrot. Okay. Kenny was closer. A carrot.
Tangerine?
A carrot. It's orange and sounds like a parrot.
All right, end the show. Wrap it up.
What's
I should
that?
have people-
Daily double?
should have people. I should have people guess in the comments how many wings Kenny ate today watching the Super Bowl, but I said it.
And
It
it's
was
more
20.
than that.
It's 20. Yeah. All right. Well, on the show. Hope everyone enjoyed our delirious selves doing this. Don't say we don't do things for the people. We record. After
Yeah,
the
I
Super
feel like
Bowl,
I'm
so-
gonna throw up now because I did all that head banging. So I hope
Yeah.
you guys like this episode.
I met a new correspondent in Germany for you guys. So there you go. All right. Well, on the show, hope everyone enjoyed. Put your thoughts on Mizzou men's basketball down below. Start suggesting mid-major players they should go get in the portal. We'll happily heed any recommendations and pass them along to the proper authorities. With that, hope you enjoy your men's hoops free-less week. I didn't say that right. We'll be back on for a show for you guys Friday. Until then, have a fun and safe week. See ya.